Hey guys, welcome back. Today is day 61 and we're going to start our new unit on polynomials. Today we're going to learn how to add and subtract them, but before we get into that, let's talk about some definitions. So the first term that we have is a monomial. A monomial is a number, variable, or a product of one or more numbers and variables. So mono means one. All right, so monomial would just be like a term, or let's see, we've got a constant 5. We could have just the variable x. These are all examples. The term 3x squared. All right, if we had 1/2 y. Those would all be examples of a monomial. All right, so you could have your number, your variable. Your variable could be to an exponent. It doesn't matter. So there's just one term. Monomial means one. Binomial, okay, you have the word, this right here, bi in there, is a polynomial with two terms. So you're going to take, maybe an example would be 3x plus 4y. Okay, notice we have two terms. Two terms would be a binomial. And it's the sum of two monomials, or it could be difference too. You could add a negative. All right, a trinomial is a polynomial with three terms. All right, so if I had negative, an example would be negative 7x squared plus 3x, okay, minus 1. Notice we have three terms, and they're, okay, in between them we're either adding or we're subtracting. Okay, so three terms. Polynomial with three terms is a trinomial. Okay, a polynomial, poly means many, is a monomial or sum of monomials, each called the term of the polynomial. It usually refers to more than three terms. Okay, so an example of a polynomial, we could have just 2x. We could have 3y plus 1. That one has two terms, 4x squared plus 2x minus 7. So even though we have a monomial, binomial, and trinomial, they're all polynomials. Okay, but you can also get into higher degrees. If I had 5x to the third plus 2x plus 4 minus 6, that would be another example of a polynomial. Okay, so a leading coefficient, when a polynomial is written in decreasing orders of exponents, meaning degree order. The leading coefficient, or the LC, is the coefficient of the first term. So notice, I'm going to put this example, 4x squared plus 2x plus 3. I start at the highest exponent. So in this case, it's x squared, and I go down. All right, the leading coefficient is the number, okay, is going to be the leading coefficient is going to be the number or the coefficient before that variable there. Okay, so it's going to be a 4 in that case. Okay, so a constant is a number. It's usually written at the end of a polynomial. It does not have a variable in the term. So examples of constants would be, say I had the binomial 5x plus 3, the constant would be the plus 3. Okay, if I had a trinomial 2x squared plus 3x minus 4, the constant would be the negative 4. Okay, now like terms are terms, monomials, that have the same variables with the same exponents, or they're just constant numbers. So like terms, I could combine 4x and 3x because they're like terms. I could combine a squared and 3a squared because they're like terms. I could take maybe 2y and negative 5y and combine it. Or I could do maybe 4 and 6. Okay, those are all examples of like terms. All right, so if I had, let's say, 4x squared y and I had 3xy squared, all right, that would not be an example of a like term because if you notice, the x is squared in the first one but not in the second. Okay, so you need to have the same variables and the same exponents. Okay, so if we look at this example here, we're going to simplify the following expressions. This is kind of going back to what we did at the beginning of the year, combining like terms. Think of it like that. All right, so only I'm looking for like variables with like exponents. So, and I like to start, you should always start at the highest exponent. All right, meaning my highest exponent is 2. So I'm going to combine 3x squared and 2x squared. And when I do that, 3 plus 2 is 5. So we get 5x squared. All right, from here, I'm going to look and see, can I combine my 7x with anything? Nope, nothing to combine that with. So it's just going to be plus 7x. All right, and then I look at my constants. I have a negative 5, but I don't have anything else I can combine it with. So I'm going to just say negative 5. So that would be my answer, 5x squared plus 7x minus 5. Okay, so I'm going to go through some of these examples. Let's look at number 2. Number 2, my highest exponent is a 3, so I'm going to combine negative 2x to the third and 8x to the third. Notice I'm either circling or boxing around the positive and negative, so I know if it's a positive or negative coefficient. So we've got a negative 2 and a positive 8 gives me a positive 6x to the third. Okay, and then I've got 5x to the, let's change our color here. I've got 5x squared minus 7x squared. 5 minus 7 is a negative 2 and the x squared. So that would be my answer there. All right, so we're going to go through some more examples. I start at my highest exponent. Here I've got a negative 10x to the fourth. There's nothing that I can combine it with. I'm going to go down one now. I'm going to look at my to the third powers. Let's see, I've got 9x to the third and x to the third. Don't forget that x to the third, the coefficient is really 1. So 9 plus 1 is 10. So we'll get 10x to the third. Okay, and then we have a negative x and a positive 12x. So it's like saying 12 minus 1 is a positive 11x. Okay, so there we are in simplest form. Okay, at any point you can pause the video and try some yourself. We're going to take 14x to the fourth minus 8x to the fourth. When I do that, I get 7x to the fourth. Okay, now I'm going to look at my x to the thirds. I've got negative 5x to the third and positive 9x to the third. So that gives me 4x to the third. All right, and then I just have the x squared left over, so it's just going to be plus x squared. Notice I start at the highest exponent and I go down. Now the degree of the polynomial is actually the degree of the highest term. So if I looked at example 4, this would be a 4th degree. All right, example number 2, the highest exponent is a 3, so that polynomial would be to the 3rd degree. All right, so now let's look at number 5. Number 5, I'm going to combine, I've got 7x to the 5th, I've got 5x to the 5th, and I've got negative 12x to the 5th. Okay, so when I do that, I've got 7 plus 5 is 12, 12 minus 12 is 0. Well, if your coefficient is 0, that simply means they cancel out. All right, so now let's look at our x to the fourth. I've got negative 7x to the fourth minus 7x to the fourth. Negative 7 minus 7 is negative 14x to the fourth, so that would be my answer. All right, let's look at number 6. Number 6, our highest exponent would be 5, so this is to the 5th degree, so we're going to combine 4x to the 5th minus 11x to the 5th. 4 minus 11 is negative 7x to the 5th. Now I'm going to go down to my x to the 4th, so let's see, I've got 5x to the 4th, but there's nothing I can combine it with, so it's just going to be plus 5x to the 4th. All right, and then I have negative 3x squared minus x squared. A negative 3 minus 1 is negative 4, so it's negative 4x squared. All right, so again, at any point, if you want to try some, you're welcome to it. Just pause the video, see if you get the same answers. Okay, 7, I'm going to start with negative 6x squared, and I've got a positive 8x squared, so that's going to be 2x squared. I'm going to go down to 11x, that's a positive 11x, minus 7x would be 4x. So it's plus 4x. And now in this example, I have some constants. All right, so that's going to be positive 13 minus 9, which is going to give me a positive 4. Here's my trinomial. All right, number 8, I start at the highest exponent, negative 3x to the 5th, plus x to the 5th is going to be negative 2x to the 5th. But then when I add another 2x to the 5th, I end up with 0, x to the 5th, so those cancel out. All right, and then I've got negative 3x minus 5x. Okay, so when I look at that, negative 3x minus 5x is going to be a negative 8x. Okay, moving on. All right, so now we're introducing, we've got some parentheses. All right, when you have, in this example, we have two binomials with parentheses. All right, if it's a plus between the parentheses, you don't need to do anything. It's just like distributing a positive 1. So I would highly recommend you just rewrite without the parentheses. All right, rewrite the problem without the parentheses, and then you can start to combine your like terms. You've got 5x squared and 3x squared is 8x squared. And then you've got 2x and 7x is 9x. And there's your answer. Okay, now this is where you need to be careful. Number 10, we're subtracting. So it's like you're distributing a negative 1 first. So I want you to rewrite this, 3x squared minus 7. But now we're going to subtract 5x squared. And now a negative times a negative is a positive. Okay, so always rewrite that. And then once you rewrite it, you can combine your like terms. So we got 3x squared minus 5x squared, which will give us a negative 2x squared. Okay, and then when you take your negative 7, let's try a different color. You got your negative 7 and your positive 6 would give you a negative 1. All right, so with number 11, if I look at number 11, notice I'm subtracting that trinomial. So I'm going to start by rewriting the problem. 8x squared plus 3x, then it's like I'm distributing a negative 1. So I'm going to subtract 5x squared. Then I'm going to add 6x because a negative times a negative is a positive, and then I'm going to add 9. Okay, so always rewrite it without the parentheses. And then when you start combining your like terms, you've got 8x squared minus 5x squared is 3x squared. Okay, now you've got 3x plus 6x is 9x. And then finally, you've got this 9, and there's nothing you can combine the 9 with, so it's just going to be plus 9. All right. With number 12, I'm adding, so it's not a big deal because it's like I'm distributing a positive 1. So I just rewrite the two trinomials, minus 1 plus 3x squared minus 6x plus 8. Okay, so once I do that, I can combine my like terms. I've got a negative 4x squared and a positive 3x squared would give me a negative x squared. I've got a positive 5x minus a 6x would give me a negative x. Okay, and then finally I've got a negative 1. Let's change our color there, didn't take. Negative 1 and a positive 8 would give me a positive 7. There's my answer. Okay. 13, we're adding them. So I'm just going to rewrite the problem without the parentheses. Plus 10 minus 2x minus 7x squared. Okay, the highest exponent is 2. So I'm going to start by combining negative 6x squared and negative 7x squared. And when I do that, I have negative 13x squared. Whoops, got kind of funky there. Let me erase that. All right, so we've got a negative 13x squared. All right, and I go down to the next exponent, which is just 2x, but there's nothing I can combine it with, so it's just going to be a negative 2x. All right, and then I'm going to combine 8 and 10, and when I do that, I get 18. All right, so there's my answer. All right, 14, I'm going to be careful because I've got I'm subtracting, so it's like I'm distributing a negative 1. I'm going to rewrite without the parentheses, 3x minus 4x squared minus 1 minus x squared minus 5. Now when I combine my like terms, I start at the highest exponent, negative 4x squared minus x squared. That's going to give me a negative 5x squared. All right, and then for the 3x, let's see, can I combine anything else? Nope, it's just going to be the 3x. It's by itself, so plus 3x. All right, but then I can combine my negative 1 minus 5. Negative 1 minus 5 is minus 6. So there's our answer there. Okay. All right, even though I've got 3 sets of parentheses, I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to distribute this negative to these 2, and the other ones are just positive. So I've got a negative 2x, I'm going to rewrite the whole thing, plus 3x squared, minus 7x, plus 4, because a negative times a negative is a positive, plus 9x squared, minus 3x. Okay, so the first step I did was get rid of those parentheses. All right, when I do that, I start and I combine my like terms. So I'm going to start at my highest exponent, which is 3x squared and 9x squared. So I'm going to get 12x squared. All right, from there, I'm going to look at my x's. I've got a negative 2x, a negative 7x. So negative 2 minus 7 is negative 9. Negative 9 minus 3, x would be a negative 12x. All right. And then finally, the constant that's left is just a plus 4. All right, so I'm going to get rid of this little thing there. All right, so there's our answer. Okay, now the last example we have, all right, we've got 13x squared minus 5x. I'm going to distribute this negative, so it's going to be minus 10x squared. Okay, and then it's going to be a negative times a negative is a positive, so plus 2x. Now I've got a negative x, and then I have plus 3. Okay, so that's my first step. Now I start at the highest exponent. I've got 13x squared minus 10x squared, and that's going to give me 3x squared. All right, I've got a negative 5x and a positive 2x, which is negative 3x. Negative 3x minus x now would give me a negative 4x. And then the only constant I have left is the positive 3. Whoops, let's do that in green. Okay, it's just going to be the plus 3. So there's our answer there. All right, so if you guys could work on your homework, okay, and that would be great. All right, we'll see you guys later. Bye.